Hi, welcome to Bio 184 or Economic Botany. Now, this course highlights the importance of plants to humans and the society, and today we're going to look into that. Also, we will learn the scope of economic botany by knowing what kind of questions does economic botany try to answer. Now, to start with, let's look at this movie clip that I got from YouTube, and let's try to imagine a world without plants.
What would a world without plants be like?
Oh. La 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 la. Oh. Ah. Oh. Oh. Oh.
Right, so that's a really nice video. So I cannot overemphasize the importance of plants to humans. We can see in the video that everything around us has a connection to plants. Our clothes, the table, the apple, the magazine print, So this connection can be direct or indirect. So there's always be connection to plants in one way or another. Now the last part of the video even implies that our existence depend on plants, which is true. So we need plants, of course, for our existence. So plants provide us, well, I've categorized them into two, like ecosystem service and economic benefits. Plants as an ecosystem service, it provides us, it stores carbon for us, and this is very relevant to the problem that we are facing now because of climate change, because we have a lot of carbon in the atmosphere, and plants can store them. But if we, remove plants through deforestation, we we lose our natural storage of carbon. And another ecosystem service is that this is something that we already know. It provides us oxygen. Also, it is through plants that we are able to utilize the light energy from the sun. So through photosynthesis, we're able to get that energy, the light energy from the sun through the plants. Now, how about economic benefits? So we all know that plants provide us food. Now, how is this burger connected to plants? We all know that burger, the beef, comes from cattle, which feed on grass, which are plants. So we still need plants. Although, if you classify yourself as a carnivore, you still need plants to exist for you to eat your burger. And clothing, as we have seen in the video, shelter, houses are made of wood, drugs, raw materials in the industry, like for paints, varnishes, soaps, aesthetic value, like nowadays in this pandemic era, we have plantitos and plantitas who are very fond of taking care of plants because they provide aesthetic value, and at the same time, that's why we have this surge of this trend now of plantitos and plantitas because of the psychological effect, you know, that plants bring to people. Oh, I haven't listed that in this economic benefits. We can add it in the list. So we depend on plants and we interact with plants. We have domesticated plants, we have pruned plants, we have used them as ornaments, we have used them as medicine, we have used plants even to tell stories. So all these things are covered by economic botany. Economic botany is the study of interaction between humans and plants. It's kind of related to ethnobotany, which focuses on the plant lore of a race, for example, of a specific ethnic group, like the study of how plants are utilized by the Aitas. Yeah, that's an example of an ethnobotanical study. Now, economic botany is we can say it's a multidisciplinary course because it overlaps with archaeology, sociology, ecology, linguistics, history, and etc. So maybe if we look at the different questions that economic botany can try to answer, we will, I think it would help us understand that economic botany is a multidisciplinary subject. So let's go into that. So what kind of questions or what are examples of questions that we can ask in economic botany? So an example is um, how knowledge of useful plants is acquired and transmitted between groups. For example, how did potato become a staple food in South American Andes when the stems and leaves of potato plants are poisonous? So this kind of question will entail you to have some background about the culture of the South, of the people, indigenous people living in the South American Andes. It will require some, because you're looking at, so this, because this question has a time element, you might need some evidence, obviously, about history, or maybe some help from an archaeologist, and because you're looking at the stems and leaves of potato plants being poisonous, so this is where the biology would come in. So economic botany is a very interesting field because it will give you an opportunity to touch, superficially at least, many kind of disciplines that interact together in order for you to answer the question. So this is a very interesting question, right? So how did potato become a staple food when it's poisonous? Remember, potato is a member of Solanaceae, the nightshade, the deadly nightshade family, which is a family consisting of many poisonous plants. Another interesting question would be, or another question that we could ask in economic botany is, what are the uses of plants and how are they used by different groups of people? For example, how many species of plants do we use out of the 250,000 species? Yeah, out of the 250,000 species of plants, known species of plants, how many of them are actually useful to us? Yeah, it's a very anthropocentric or man-centered question, but it's really an interesting thing. Like, why? Or an interesting question, because have we used 250,000 of these species, or just a few of them, and why is that? Another example is, how is coconut used across the globe? So we all know that in the Philippines, coconut has many uses, from the leaves to the fruit, and to the trunk, the cocoa lumber, and probably the roots, even the roots of the coconut. Yeah, so those are a few of the specific questions that you can ask in this kind of inquiry. Another question would be, how did cultivated plants evolve? So we have a lot of cultivated plants that we use now, and we cultivate them because we need them. And that led to the domestication of plants. So we have corn, we have rice, we have wheat, we have barley, we have potato, we have peppers, anything that you can think of. Yeah. So how did they become cultivated, or how did they become domesticated? How do these plants become, you know, so important to us? Like rice, we have devoted hectares of land just to plant rice. It's obvious because it's our staple food. And how did rice end up being domesticated? Why not choose other grass species? Why rice? So what's an example? What's another example of coming out from this big, broad question? So, for example, maybe you're interested in corn domestication. So corn is related to a wild grass in Central America and Mexico. And first cultivation was this in this area, and you might be interested in yeah, when was it first cultivated, and who are the people involved in this cultivation? What made them um, cultivate this plant from a wild grass into becoming a corn? Maybe you're interested in that process, or maybe you're interested in how this corn domestication thing moved across cultures, because corn is cultivated now not only in the Americas but in different parts of the globe as well. Another question that you can ask in economic botany is, what is the impact of human activity, or we call this anthropogenic impact, on landscape and biodiversity? Specifically, you could ask, how will the pressures of increasing population and the demand for more natural resources affect the landscape? So this picture is an oil palm, a palm oil plantation somewhere in Indonesia or Malaysia. So palm oil it's a huge business, and forests are cleared because of this. And we all know that if there's more demand, we need more lands for plantation of palm oil or even for rice, right? And demand increases when there are more people and population is still growing. And another question is agriculture sustainable? Like in this one, in this photo, so we have a plantation, and then over time, the soil loses its productivity because the nutrients, the minerals are absorbed by plants, and or maybe this is not a good example. Like for example, for rice, you harvest rice, you take out you pull out everything, and there's no recycling of nutrients because you pull the entire plant. So over time, the soil loses its productivity. If if that happens, you need to find another fertile soil, or you need to put inputs. You need to put fertilizer in the soil. to make it fertile again. And we all know that fertilizer can come along with water, if, during runoff, and that could pollute lakes, rivers, all stuff. So these are very interesting questions, and it's a multidisciplinary one, and that's one of the questions that you could ask in economic botany. So these are just some questions, and so that gives you an idea of the scope of what economic botany is. Maybe your preconceived notion of economic botany is just about economic benefits of plants. Yeah, you're right, but there's more to that. And I have shown you different questions that are very interesting. And they are basically economic botany questions. And if you're interested, maybe you could do some study related to that. And so I'm excited now about what other economic botany questions you have in mind. So if you do have one, please post them in the discussion section.